In this video we will talk about the B11 cannon and why this shit is so damn underpowered, but let's look into our sponsor right quick, which is DG Zani. You can get a shit ton of money and get your rank boosted up for a very cheap price compared to what I saw from others. DG Zani is a professional website, and it's incredibly reliable. Yes, it's reliable, otherwise I won't be showing you this site. You can even get $100 million for the low cost of $81. Make sure to use the coupon code HUMMER to get 5% off. Now, let's get back into the damn video. Most people still talk about shit like the overpowered pussy bike, but not many people talk about the B11 Strikeforce Cannon and how weak it is compared to the other jets in the game. The P996 laser and Hydra cannons are far better than the shitty B11. These cannons put out more damage, plus they have a much better fire rate than the damn B11 Strikeforce. Even the rogue shitty cannons are more useful since it have two cannons instead of the one cannon that the B11 Strikeforce has. The Rogue and Hydra are faster than the B11 Strikeforce as well. Now for agility, the B11 Strikeforce is more agile than the Laser, Hydra, and Rogue, but the LF-22 Starling is far more agile than the B11. Even a good pyro pilot can be more agile than the B11 Strikeforce. This means the B11 Strikeforce is a somewhat decent dogfighter, but would get fucked by any good pilot in the Starling and Pyro. Also take note that the B11 Strikeforce is the only jet with the barrage missiles, so it has a little upside to it. This fucking jet has a multitude of weapons. In all, it has barrage missiles, bombs, cannons, and homing missiles. This jet only has 30 homing missiles, which makes it the only fucking jet with limited homing missiles in the whole game. These rockets are similar to the FH-100, so they ain't special. The same goes for the barrage missiles, but they ain't limited, but at least the barrage missiles are unique on this jet since only helicopters have them. The B11 Strikeforce is much faster at high altitude. This jet can easily outrun missiles from the Oppressor Mark II above the Maze Bank Tower. It can even counter the Oppressor Mark II at this altitude, but the B11 Strikeforce is one of the worst jets to fight Mark II users since it's easy to get at a low altitude and get fucked up. Just like the title said, the B11 Strikeforce Cannon suck ass, but that's not the only thing that fucking suck on this fat ass jet. At low altitude this jet is really slow, like seriously, it's slow as shit. It can't even outrun homing missiles from the Oppressor Mk2 at a low altitude. This limits the jet abilities a lot since most of us fly below the Maze Bank level to avoid sniper fire, and a lot of us are forced to fly low in PvP that happens below the Maze Bank level. Let's just look at how my friend does against the Oppressor Mark II with his B11 Strikeforce. Take note, I don't own that piece of shit bike, I'm borrowing that shit from a friend. Hitting the Oppressor Mk2 with the B11 Strikeforce cannons will be extremely hard since the fucking Oppressor Mark II is very small, fast, and fucking agile as hell. The cannon on the B11 Strikeforce also has a slow fire rate which makes it hard to aim. Even hitting the Oppressor Mark II with the laser is hard enough already, but the B11 cannon is just fucking worse. Rockstar could have even made this piece of shit jet less agile, but it should have been fast enough to dodge Oppressor Mark II missiles at a low altitude, and it should have had an extremely powerful cannon. This jet should have been the best ground killing machine in the game, but it should have lacked in dogfights against most of the damn jets in the game. The Starling is the only damn jet that can easily beat the B11 Strikeforce in a dogfight. The B11 Strikeforce shouldn't even stand much of a chance against the laser since the fucking laser is a dedicated dogfighter, but like I said earlier, it should be the best jet against ground units but bad in dogfights. Yes, the B11 Strikeforce is very agile, but it can't compete against a good Starling pilot. Even a good laser pilot can fight or probably beat a B11 Strikeforce user. Yes, the B11 Strikeforce is more agile, but the laser is still one damn good agile jet when it comes to dogfighting in this fucking game. The B11 Strikeforce is slightly better in dogfights, but the laser is better against ground targets and fighting any other vehicle, which makes the laser an overall better jet. I'm not saying the B11 Strikeforce is a bad jet, but it should have been better. Let's just be fucking honest here. Why in the flying fuck is a fat ass jet that's not made for dogfighting is better than a jet that's made for dogfighting? Cockstar, where the fuck did your logic come from? The cannon on the B11 Strikeforce should be much stronger than it currently is. This jet is already limited at low altitude and on the amount of homing missiles it holds. Why in the flying fuck would you limit the use of the cannon? This jet barely stands a chance if someone grabs a Oppressor Mark II and keeps them at a low altitude. I also find it funny that Cockstar gave the B11 Strikeforce so much armor, but it can simply be disabled by one fucking rocket. The cannon on the B11 Strikeforce should be much stronger than it currently is. This jet is already limited at low altitude and on the amount of homing missiles it holds. Why in the flying fuck would you limit the use of the cannon? This jet barely stands a chance if someone grabs a Oppressor Mark II and keeps them at a low altitude. I also find it funny that Cockstar gave the B11 Strikeforce so much armor, but it can simply be disabled by one fucking rocket. You do better saying this thing can't take a single rocket. You're even better off using the laser since it's smaller than the B11 Strikeforce and faster. This makes the B11 Strikeforce armor useless. Let's make a conclusion to this damn video. The B11 Strikeforce cannon should be like the laser and Hydra, but the cannon should have a longer range and even do more damage. The speed should also be increased just by a very little to have the ability to avoid the missiles from the pussy bike. Since the cannon would get this buff, the agility of the B11 Strikeforce should be a lot worse, similarly to the Molotov or Hydra. This jet shouldn't be able to do shit when it comes to dogfighting, but it should fucking dominate when it comes to killing ground targets. Even the Hydra and laser cannons should be nerfed to make the B11 Strikeforce stand out even more against ground targets. The Hydra and laser should either get the cannons the B11 Strikeforce currently have, or the range of the laser and Hydra cannons should be decreased, which should be similarly to how it was on the older consoles, which is the Xbox 360 and PS3. This would not only make the B11 Strikeforce more usable, but it would also make air combat much more fun and make pilots have to actually take sacrifices instead of just getting a laser and being superior at nearly everything. I know I didn't mention this, but some of you may be thinking about the armor and should it be changed. I would change this just a little, but not much. I would keep it with the same armor, but I would at least give it the ability to take 1 or 2 without having its tail blown off. The first missile shouldn't make it smoke at all, the second missile should cause minor smoke, but the third, fourth, fifth, or sixth missile should damage it more or possibly knock pieces off like the elevators or rudders. You may think this is overpowered, but so many fucking vehicles would be able to counter this shit since it wouldn't have any abilities to dogfight worth a shit. This would just be the ultimate ground attack vehicle, which it should fucking be. I want to know what you guys think about the changes on the B11 Strikeforce that I said should be done. I made a petition about the cannon long ago, you can sign it if you want. Also, if you want this nice ass color on the B11 Strikeforce so it could look like an A10 Thunderbolt, then join my crew, which is Dark Eagle Squad. Don't forget, you need to have your gamer tag or PSN ID visible on Social Club to join the crew. Make sure to check out our sponsor, which is DGZani. Hit that red button and you know about that like button shit.